It's not that I don't like other people. I just know what they can get like when they're in a pack. When they all turn on you at once, and you're the deer and they're wolves. So I stay away from crowds. If there's one person to walk with, I'll walk together. But mostly I end up on my own. That's how I found myself that lonesome December night, walking through the suburbs, like mile upon mile of deserted corn rows, enclaves of warmth stacked along in the bitter cold. Me there, trapped on the outside and looking for home, as if I could just walk my way into it if I tried hard enough and glitch the world generation. A dog in someone's yard got riled up. A German shepherd with nothing better to do. It barked and snarled and gnashed its teeth at me, reminded me of when that pack of dogs chased me as a kid, tore open my pant leg before I could slam the trunk door shut just in front of its face. Doggy almost lost some teeth that day. I didn't recognize my own strength back then, and that moment at night on my own I forgot again. That German shepherd had me rattled. I clutched my denim jacket close and walked faster, letting its howls fade into the distance behind me before it eventually gave up and settled down. Down the hill a ways I could see a bridge that crossed a river, right where it met the sea. The water was black like oil in the night, and red streetlights flared above it, reflections casting imaginary flames on the flowing liquid. I drew in a long breath. My feet hurt, and I was cold. There was a bus stop just before the place the road curved up and onto the bridge. I saw a bench and thought about sitting down and waiting for a ride home. But I didn't have a home then. Just a bed and a house and some people who wanted me gone. I kept walking. Heather texted me earlier that night about revelation and enlightenment, about how each of us are God, or maybe she was saying I was God, or that she was God. It didn't matter either way. I couldn't fill my empty stomach or make my feet not hurt, so what good was enlightenment? In the distance, across the bridge, I saw pink neon lights arranged along something that looked like an enormous onion. Maybe it was a temple. I thought to myself if I could just get to that onion, maybe I'd find what I was looking for, attaching myself to this unusual object for the sheer fact of its strangeness. I came up to the bridge, 2 narrow sidewalks on either side of 6 lanes of traffic. I thought it was dangerous to walk along. I didn't care. I was there to look over the edge. I walked up and along. The bridge was long, and I'd be walking for a long time. I stared up at the streetlights, miniature suns radiating light, at once evil and pitiful and small, hostile, concrete and cold steel pressing in around me. I felt smaller than an insect, smaller than anything, small enough to disappear into the cracks in the sidewalk and never be heard from again. A guy, or at least I assumed he was a guy, carrying a pizza box came up over the horizon. I assumed there was pizza in the box, just like I assumed there was a man in that body. But you never know what's on the inside from what's on the outside. Just like how inside me there was only hunger. Enough hunger to make me contemplate throwing that body off the bridge and claiming the box and its contents for myself. This I thought as I walked, making occasional eye contact with the distant stranger as he came closer. It was an agonizing age that brought us together, with nowhere else for either of us to go but towards one another, unwillingly close due to circumstances beyond our control. When he passed me by, we didn't say a word. We made no notice of one another, as though we were each ghosts in different layers of the afterlife. The smell of pizza wafted from the box, betraying the truth of what it contained. It was enough to turn my stomach like a dying beast. It rumbled. I said nothing. I kept walking. In the distance, the wail of police sirens tore through the lonely night. A nook in the railing opened, not enough for a bench, or even for more than a single person, but a tiny relief from the narrow sidewalk. It pulled me in, and I leaned my head over the water, hands on the railing. I looked into the dark and wondered if I should go there, if I should let it pull me all the way in and take me to the sea. Maybe somewhere down there was a city of sea sirens, and maybe if I was lucky they'd let me be one of them, and bask in the light at the bottom of the ocean, in the city of light built on choking black mud. I hopped up on the railing and sat there, thinking and wondering, hoping for clarity. I stared at the black water and listened to it gurgle and flow and squirm like so many eels. I looked up one last time at the mountains off the coast and saw for the first time in my life a cloud of neon blue exploding over that wall. The glow of the city was drowned by the intensity of this cloud bank as it broke over the snow-covered peaks. There was magic and transformation and death in that cloud, and it spoke to me the way no human being ever could. It poured down the hills like a ghostly wildfire and swallowed the land as it galloped and rolled down the river valley. I inhaled a long, deep breath and waited for it to envelop me. So quick it was that the force of the wind nearly knocked me backwards onto the concrete. I held fast and stared up at the sky, watching the stars find company in numerous sparks of blue-green, and quickly drown in this radiance as it erupted from the river valley and out onto the sea. All around me the world was aglow. I could see nothing past the alcove at the edge of the bridge. I reached out my hand to catch whatever snow fell in clumps around me and screamed with vivid radiance at the world. What I caught looked like clumps of snow, the kind made of numerous snowflakes all forming together, like some kind of hideous snow cancer. But it wasn't cold, and it didn't melt. It was soft, softer than down, softer than a kitten. It clung to me gently, and I could see the luminance it cast within my palm. I cradled it with wonder in my own two shaking hands. It was too soft and too gentle for my tiny hands to protect it, and in a moment I let it slip between my fingers to drift down towards the water below. There in the dark I saw the lights carried by the current to the sea. The siren city of light echoed all around me, in the sky, in the howl of the wind, in the sea, and the hush of everything, as it was muffled under a layer of glowing moss. I heard a car on the bridge honk and screech to a halt somewhere behind me. I heard more honks and more screeching tires as drivers were halted by the stuff which piled now on the roadway, at once blocking visibility and falling so thick that it prevented movement. Tons of hurtling steel brought to a standstill by the stuff. I hopped down from the railing and attempted to follow along the narrow sidewalk. The moss pressed in from the bridge and slowed my progress. It was light and fluffy, but there was so much of it that it became difficult to breathe. The pressure of the stuff forced me into the railing, and eventually the exhaustion overcame me. I pulled myself up onto the railing, over which heaps of piling plant matter flowed down to the river below. The force of the fluff was too much to stand, but not too much to crawl, and so I carried myself gingerly along on all fours like a cat. The wind picked up then and pushed like the throes of passion against my hips. Between the flowing moss and the howling wind there was a balance of forces which kept me upright as I made my way along. Nearly across the bridge I heard the faintest echoes of police sirens and traffic fading away as the city came to a halt around me. The storm continued its assault, piling ever more fluff upon the city, foot by foot until the first story of every house was obscured completely, with no sign of ceasing by the time I reached the other end of the bridge. The bridge was full to the rim with moss, but it couldn't pile any higher than that, with the overflow spilling through and over the railing. Beyond that, though, the city was buried. I stood for a long while, waterfall of light below me and luminous wall ahead, contemplating what I should do. Eventually, I put up my jacket hood and pushed myself into the froth. It was difficult to walk through, but not impossible. Suffocating, but not enough to take my breath away completely. I searched and groped through the street for a ladder or a staircase, anything that could offer me a way to higher ground. The journey was monotonous and endless. I saw nothing but light and felt only the softness and warmth of the moss around me on all sides. It was at once comforting, serene, and threateningly calm, its influence on my consciousness like inhaling ether. It intoxicated and threatened to take me away forever all at once. The siren song of death and pure peace, all in one breath. My arms stretched out ahead of me and rode through the stuff in long spans. My feet and lungs screamed at me with the same urgency to find higher ground. My vision began to blur. How I could tell I wasn't sure until the flashes of light began. Swirls and stars and black spots appeared and disappeared. I inhaled deeply and hoped it wasn't for the last time. My legs and arms began to fail me.
Forgive me if I have sinned, baby. Been a while since I have gotten away lately. Up and down the stairs, wishing someone would care if I dropped off the face of the earth. I light my incense to let the smoke float through the air. Find my mirror, brush out some knots and go to braid my hair. He hated it when I was in my element. Now I'm more period at dinner table. Touch my crystals, I feel better knowing I never let you ruin my life. No more hands on my thighs. Forgive me if I have sinned. Forgive me if I have let you grab a hold onto my life. But to me you're more dead than alive. Forgive me if I feel the need to say sorry to you, and maybe I'll miss your hands on me, even though you should have said sorry. My cleanse, my purge in your aura is freeing me. Cards in the deck that you're telling me. Three of swords. My co-star is telling me off. Forgive me if I fall in love with myself. In love with myself. I have a problem with saying no, because it's much too hard to say. And you play a part of my psyche, the aperture to the lens I see. The world's so much scarier than my mother told me. Ooh. To keep my head up high during my retrograde, and when my grandma fast, it's because she feels something holy. All of my extensions and my flesh, they make me feel alive. Yeah, my father's proud and my brother's tired of seeing me like this. Forgive me if I have sinned, baby. Been a while since I have gotten away lately. Up and down the stairs, wishing someone would care if I dropped off the face of the earth. If I dropped off the face of the earth.